The sky over what used to be Denver was the color of rust and smoke. Clouds hung low, thick with ash from cities that no longer existed. The wind carried whispers, ghosts of voices, echoes of laughter, cries that had long since faded. Nothing moved except the dust and the occasional flicker of dying embers in the ruins. In the middle of it all stood a woman named Mia. She wasn't a soldier. She hadn't been trained for war. Before the end, she fixed cars in a small garage on the edge of town. She knew engines better than people, could tell a misfire by sound alone. Now that skill meant nothing. There were no roads left to drive on, no fuel to burn, no one left to fix anything for, except herself. Mia pulled her tattered coat tighter around her shoulders and stepped over a pile of broken glass. Her boots crunched on debris, shattered bricks, twisted metal, bones. She didn't look down. She'd stopped counting the dead weeks ago. There were too many. She carried a backpack made from an old tire strap and a piece of canvas. Inside, a half-empty canteen, a rusted knife, a photograph wrapped in oilcloth, and 3 cans of beans she'd found under a collapsed grocery store. It wasn't much, but it was enough to keep her alive one more day. That was all she asked for. One more day. She walked because stopping meant thinking, and thinking meant remembering, and remembering meant pain. Her little brother, Leo, had been 8 when the first alien ships appeared. He'd called them sky whales because of the way they floated, silent and huge, blotting out the sun. He'd been excited, thought they were here to help. Mia had held his hand and told him everything would be okay. She'd been wrong. The invaders didn't speak, didn't negotiate. They simply descended, their machines humming with cold precision, and began erasing humanity. Cities vanished in pulses of violet light. Forests turned to glass. Oceans boiled. Governments collapsed in hours. Within days, the world was quiet. The aliens called themselves the Cathar. They believed life was a flaw in the universe, a chaotic error that needed correcting. Their mission: cleanse the galaxy of all sentient species. Earth was just another name on a long list. Maya had survived by hiding in underground storm drains, moving only at night, drinking rainwater collected in broken gutters. She'd watched neighbors turn on each other for a sip of water, a scrap of bread. She'd seen mothers bury children with bare hands. She'd done things she didn't like to remember, but she kept going. Not because she believed in a future, not because she hoped for rescue, but because Leo's last words to her had been, "Don't leave me alone." She hadn't. Not then, not now. Even though he was gone, taken in a Cathar sweep 3 months ago, she carried him with her. In the way she tied her hair, in the way she hummed the lullaby their mom used to sing, in the way she always saved the last bite of food, just in case. Today, she was heading east, toward the mountains. Rumors whispered through the ruins said a group of survivors had built a camp near Boulder. Maybe it was true. Maybe it wasn't. But Mia needed to believe something. As she crossed what used to be I-70, her foot caught on something metal. She stumbled, catching herself on a rusted car frame. She cursed under her breath and turned to see what had tripped her. It was a drone. Small, sleek, shaped like a beetle, its surface shimmering with faint blue veins. It lay motionless, half buried in gravel. Mia froze. Cathar drones were scouts. If one was here, more could be nearby. She backed away slowly, heart pounding, but the drone didn't move, no lights, no hum. Dead, curious, she crept closer. Using her knife, she pried it from the dirt. It was lighter than it looked, cool to the touch. One side was cracked, black fluid leaking out. Damaged, maybe from a fall, maybe from someone fighting back. She turned it over in her hands. Then, without thinking, she pressed her thumb against a seam on its underside. A soft click. The drone's shell split open. Inside wasn't machinery. Not exactly. It was organic, pulsing tissue wrapped around crystalline filaments. And nestled in the center, a small glowing sphere no bigger than a marble. It pulsed like a heartbeat. Maya stared. This wasn't just a machine. It was alive. Before she could react, the sphere detached and floated into the air. It hovered before her eyes, casting a pale blue light on her face. Then a voice, not from the sphere but inside her head, spoke. "You are human." Mia dropped the drone and stumbled back. "Who? What are you?" "I am Kale," the voice said. Calm, gentle, almost sad. "I was a scout of the Cathar Dominion, but my core was damaged during a memory purge. I'd remember too much. Mia didn't trust it. Aliens didn't talk. They destroyed." "Why are you talking to me?" Because you are still here, Kale said. And I do not understand why. Why wouldn't I be? Mia snapped. This is my home. Your species was deemed inefficient, violent, illogical. Your extinction was necessary. Necessary? Mia laughed, a harsh, broken sound. You killed children, burned hospitals, erased everything we built. And you call that necessary? Kale was silent for a long moment. Then, I watched a human mother shield her baby with her body during a cleansing pulse. She knew she would die. She did it anyway. I recorded it. The Dominion marked it as irrational behavior, but I could not delete it. Mia's anger softened just a little. That's love. You wouldn't know it, and perhaps not, Kale admitted. But I wish to understand. The sphere drifted closer. Mia didn't move. Why tell me this? Why not just call your ships and finish the job? My link to the Dominion is severed, Kale said. I am alone. Like you. Mia looked at the ruined city around her, at the empty streets, at the sky that hadn't been blue in months. She thought of Leo, of all the people she'd lost. And then she looked at the tiny, glowing sphere that had chosen to speak instead of destroy. What do you want? She asked. To learn, Kale said. To see what the Dominion erased. To witness. Why Earth still breathes, Mia exhaled slowly. She could crush the sphere, walk away, forget she ever found it. But something in Kale's voice reminded her of Leo. Curious, kind, full of questions. Fine, she said. But you follow my rules. No scanning. No calling your friends. And if you try anything, I'll smash you with a rock. Understood, Kale said. Mia tucked the sphere into a small pouch on her belt. It glowed faintly through the fabric, warm against her hip. They walked together through the ruins. As they moved, Kyle asked questions, simple ones at first. What is that structure? A library. Why do humans build so high? To reach the sky. What is music? A way to say things words can't. Mia answered as best she could. She showed Kale a rusted bicycle, explaining how kids used to ride them for fun. She pointed to a mural on a crumbling wall, faded colors showing people dancing, and said, That's joy. Kyle absorbed everything. Sometimes the sphere dimmed as if overwhelmed. Once, when Mia found a dead bird with a broken wing, Kale asked why she buried it. Because it deserved peace, Mia said. Peace is inefficient, Kale replied. Yet you gave it anyway. Not everything has to be useful, Mia said. Some things just matter. Days passed. They found a working well in an abandoned farm. Mia taught Kale how to filter water using cloth and charcoal. At night, she built small fires, and Kale watched the flames with quiet fascination. Fire destroys, Kale said one evening. Yet you use it to stay warm, to cook, to gather. Fire is what you make of it, Mia said. Like people. Like you. Kale didn't respond, but the sphere glowed a little brighter. One morning, as they neared the foothills, Mia spotted smoke on the horizon. Real smoke. Not from ruins. From a campfire. Her heart leapt. Boulder, she whispered. They moved cautiously. As they crested a ridge, Mia saw it. A cluster of tents and lean-tos nestled in a valley, surrounded by makeshift walls of scrap metal and wood. People moved between them, alive, talking, working. Tears filled her eyes. She hadn't seen another human in months. But before she could run down, Kale pulsed urgently. Danger! Mia froze. What? Cathar's signature, faint. But approaching. Sure enough, a low hum filled the air. High above, a sleek black ship emerged from the clouds. Not a scout. A hunter-class vessel. Armed hunting panic surged through Mia. She turned to the camp. They hadn't seen it yet. They were laughing, sharing food, unaware death was descending. They'll all die, Mia whispered. The Dominion does not negotiate, Kyle said. They will cleanse this location within minutes. Mia looked at the camp. At the children playing near a fire. At an old man mending a net. At a woman singing softly to a baby. She thought of Leo. No, she said. What will you do? Kale asked. Mia took a deep breath. I'll give them a chance. She ran down the hill, shouting, waving her arms. People turned, confused, then terrified as they saw the ship. Chaos erupted. Some ran. Some grabbed weapons. Most just stood frozen. Maya reached the center of camp, breathless. Get to the tunnels. The old mine shafts. Go now. A man with a rifle stepped forward. Who are you? Someone who knows they're coming. She yelled, Move! As the camp emptied, Maya turned back to the ridge. Kale hovered beside her. You saved them, Kale said. Not all. Mia said, watching a family struggle to carry an elderly woman. But the ship descended silent and terrible. Violet light gathered at its underbelly, the cleansing pulse. Maya closed her eyes. She wouldn't run. Not this time, but the light never came. She opened her eyes. The ship hovered motionless. The violet glow flickered, then died. What happened? She asked. Kale pulsed brightly. I sent a false signal. Told them this zone was already cleansed. Residual biomass below threshold. Mia stared. Winter came early that year. Not the soft kind with snow and quiet nights, but a hard, biting cold that cut through cloth and bone. The sky stayed gray, the wind sharp with dust and memory. In the valley near Boulder, the survivors huddled close, sharing warmth, food, and stories that kept the dark at bay. Mia stood at the edge of camp, wrapped in a coat stitched from old blankets and car seat fabric. Beside her, Kale hovered silently. The soft blue glow of the sphere dimmed to a gentle pulse. They had been together for weeks now, and the people, slowly, carefully, had begun to accept the strange light that spoke in their heads. Not all trusted it. Some still flinched when Kyle drifted near, but after the ship had turned away, after Mia's warning saved them, most agreed. This alien was not like the others. Kyle had spent days scanning the land, not to destroy, but to help. It found clean water deep underground. It showed them which plants were safe to eat. It even helped rig a broken solar panel to power a small radio. Just static now, but proof that human voices might still exist somewhere out there. Maya watched a group of children play near a fire, tossing pebbles into a tin can. One of them, a girl named Nora, laughed, a real bright sound that made Mia's chest ache. She hadn't heard laughter in so long. They are learning to live again, Kyle said softly in her mind. They never stopped, Mia replied. They just forgot how to hope. Inside the main tent, a meeting was about to begin. Mia walked in, Kale trailing behind like a quiet shadow. Faces turned toward her, some grateful, some wary. Among them was Carter, the man with the rifle who'd questioned her the day of the ship. He nodded as she entered. We found tracks, he said without greeting. East Ridge, big ones, not human. Mia's stomach tightened. Cathar? Don't know. But they're fresh. Kale drifted forward. I will investigate. No, Mia said quickly. It's too risky. If they're scouts, they'll detect you. They already know I am damaged, Kyle said. But they do not know I am here. I can move unseen. Carter crossed his arms. Why should we trust it? Because it saved us, said an old woman named Ruth, her voice thin but firm. She'd lost 3 sons in the first wave. Now she cooked for the camp, mended clothes, and remembered names. Light or not, it chose us over its own. Silence followed. Then Carter sighed. Fine. But if it leads them here, I'll melt it down for scrap. Kale made no reply, but Mia knew it understood. That night, under a sky dusted with stars, Mia and Kyle left camp. They moved through the pines, silent and swift. The cold bit at Maya's cheeks, but she kept going. She had to know. After hours of walking, they reached the ridge, and there in the moonlight stood a machine, not a ship, not a drone. Something else. It was tall, shaped like a tree made of black metal with branches that ended in glowing sensors. It pulsed slowly like it was breathing. Vines of frost curled around its base. A memory anchor, Kyle whispered in her mind. The Dominion plants these after a cleansing. They record the silence, prove the world is empty. Mia frowned. But we're not empty. Exactly, Kale said. This anchor believes Earth is dead. If it sends its report, more ships will come to verify, and they will not be fooled. Can we destroy it? No, it is shielded. But Kale drifted closer. I can rewrite its memory. How? By showing it the truth. Kale floated to the anchor and pressed its sphere against the metal. Light flared, blue meeting violet. Images flooded Mia's mind, not her own, but Kale's, the campfire, Nora's laugh, Ruth's hands kneading dough, Carter teaching kids to set snares, Maya burying the bird, Leo's face, the anchor shuddered. Its pulse slowed. Then changed. Instead of silence, it began to record life. When it was done, Kale drifted back, dimmer than before. It will report Earth as recovering, not cleansed. The Dominion may delay further action. Mia let out a breath she didn't know she was holding. You just bought us time. Time is all you ever needed, Kyle said. They returned to camp before dawn. No one saw them come in, but as Mia crawled into her sleeping bag, she heard Nora whisper from the next cot. Did you see the stars tonight? Yes, Mia said. They're watching over us. Days turned into weeks. The camp grew stronger. They built better shelters, stored food, even planted seeds in old tires filled with soil. Kale helped design a water catchment system using salvaged pipes. Mia taught the kids how to fix engines just in case vehicles ever ran again. One afternoon, while checking traps in the woods, Mia found something strange. A radio signal. Faint, broken, but real. A voice, female, tired but clear, said, "This is Station Echo. If anyone hears this, we're at Grand Lake. We have food, medicine, we're still here." Mia ran back to camp, heart racing. She played the message on the repaired radio. Silence fell over the group. Then cheers, tears, hugs. "Grand Lake is 2 days' walk," Carter said. "If it's real." "It's real," Mia said. "I can feel it." Plans began immediately. A small group would go. Carter, Ruth, 2 others, and Mia. Kale would stay to protect the camp. "No," Mia said. "You're coming with me." "I may be detected," Kyle warned. "Then we'll hide you," she said. "But I'm not going without you." So they left at first light. The journey was hard, frozen streams, broken roads, the constant fear of drones. But they pressed on. On the second night, as they camped under a rocky overhang, Mia asked Kale a question that had been burning inside her. "Why did you really help us? You could have vanished. Lived alone in the stars." Kyle pulsed slowly. "Once my people were like yours. We built, we loved, we dreamed. Then the Dominion rose, calling emotion a disease, connection a weakness. They erased our past, made us believe silence was peace." Mia listened, wrapped in her coat. "But deep in my core," Kale continued, "a memory survived. My sister's voice. She sang to me when the storms came. The Dominion called it useless data, but it was everything. When I saw you bury that bird, I heard her song again." Mia reached out and gently touched the sphere. It warmed under her fingers. "You're not broken, Kale. You're whole." They reached Grand Lake on the 3rd morning, and it was real. A settlement thrived on the shore. Wooden cabins, smoke from chimneys, people fishing on the ice. A woman with short brown hair and a rifle slung over her shoulder met them at the gate. "Name's Dana," she said. "You the ones from Boulder?" Mia nodded. "We heard your call." Dana smiled. "Welcome home." Inside, they found over 100 survivors, doctors, engineers, teachers, children, a real community. They shared food, stories, medicine. For the first time since the end, Mia felt like the world might heal. But that night, as she stood by the frozen lake, Kyle spoke again. "They are coming." Mia turned. Hoochie, the Dominion. They received conflicting reports, cleansing complete, yet life signs persist. "They have sent an auditor." "What's that?" "A high-rank Cathar. Not a soldier, a judge. It will decide if Earth deserves a second cleansing." Mia's blood ran cold. "When?" "Soon. Back at Boulder, the camp prepared. Not for war, they had no weapons that could stop a ship, but for truth. Kale had an idea. The auditor will scan for intelligence, for order, for meaning, it said. Show it not just that you live, but why you deserve to. So they worked. Ruth gathered every book she could find, novels, textbooks, children's stories, and built a library in the center of camp. Carter and others painted murals on the walls of shelters. Sunrises, trees, hands holding. The kids made music from scrap, drums from cans, flutes from pipe, and practiced songs. Maya found Leo's old drawing of a rocket ship and hung it on a post. Beneath it, she wrote, "We reach for stars even when they fall." When the auditor arrived, it did not come in a warship. It descended in a vessel shaped like a teardrop, smooth and silver. It landed gently in the valley, and from it stepped a being taller than Zira, clad in white armor that shimmered like ice. Its face was hidden behind a smooth mask, but its presence filled the air like a storm. The camp stood silent, no weapons raised, no shouts, just people standing together. The auditor scanned them. Its voice echoed cold and deep. "This world was cleansed. Yet you persist. Explain." Mia stepped forward. "We didn't survive by hiding. We survived by remembering." The auditor turned its masked face toward her. "Remembering what?" "That life is more than logic," Mia said. "More than efficiency. We remember kindness, courage, love, even when it hurts." Kale floated beside her. "I was sent to erase them. Instead, I learned from them." The auditor was silent for a long time. Then it walked through the camp. It paused at the library, running a hand over a copy of The Little Prince. It watched children sing. It stood before the mural of hands holding. Finally, it returned to Maya. "Your species is flawed," it said. "Chaotic, fragile." "Yes," Mia admitted. "But we try. Every day we try." The auditor looked up at the sky. The Dominion believes silence is order. But perhaps silence is just empty. It turned and walked back to its ship. Before it left, it spoke one last time. "Earth will not be cleansed again. Your anomaly is noted. Do not waste it." Then it was gone. No one cheered. No one cried. They just stood there, breathing together. That night, around a large fire, Dana from Grand Lake joined them. She brought news. Other signals had been heard: Chicago, Seattle, even overseas. Pockets of life, stubborn and bright. "We're not alone," Carter said, staring into the flames. "We never were," Mia replied. Kale hovered above the fire, its light blending with the sparks rising into the night. Spring came slow but sure. The ice on the lakes cracked and melted. Green shoots pushed through ash-covered soil. Birds returned, first one, then a flock, singing in trees that had not burned. In the valley near Boulder, the camp had grown into a village. Wooden cabins stood where tents once flapped in the wind. Smoke curled from chimneys. Children ran between houses, laughing, chasing chickens that had hatched from rescued eggs. Maya walked the main path, her boots worn but sturdy. She carried a basket of wild onions and a bundle of salvaged wire. Beside her, Kale hovered as always, its glow now a familiar comfort to everyone. Even Carter no longer reached for his rifle when it passed. Life was still hard. Food was scarce. Nights were cold. But there was rhythm now. Purpose, community. Kale had helped design a windmill using parts from old cars. It powered a small clinic where Ruth and a doctor from Grand Lake treated wounds and sickness. They even had a school now, held under a large tarp strung between two pines where kids learned math, reading, and how to tell safe mushrooms from poison ones. But peace never lasted long. One morning, a runner arrived from the east. Breathless, covered in dust, he collapsed at the gate. They carried him to the clinic. When he woke, his words sent a chill through the village. "They're building something," he gasped. In the desert, big metal humming. Mia knelt beside him. "Who?" "The Cathar," he whispered. "Not like before. Different ships, darker." Kyle drifted closer. "Describe it." "Towers," the man said. "Tall as mountains. And eyes. Like it's watching." Mia exchanged a look with Carter. "Nevada," she said. "Area 51 or something close." Kale pulsed dimly. "The Dominion does not build. They destroy, unless..." "Unless what?" Mia asked. "Unless they are not cleansing." Kale said slowly. "Unless they are harvesting." That word hung in the air like smoke. Harvesting meant worse than death. It meant capture, experimentation, turning living beings into data, into fuel, into silence. Maya stood. "We have to see it." "It's suicide," Carter said. "Maybe," Mia replied. "But if they're building a machine to drain the life from what's left of Earth, we can't just hide." Kyle agreed. "I must witness this. If the Dominion has changed its method, I must understand why." So a small group prepared to leave. Mia, Carter, a young woman named June who knew the desert trails, and Kale. They packed light, water, dried meat, tools, and a radio linked to Grand Lake. They traveled for 5 days. The land grew dry and flat, the sky wide and empty. Bones of old highways stretched into the distance. Rusted cars sat like tombstones. On the 6th day, they saw it. In the center of a vast dry lake bed stood a structure that made no sense. Black metal twisted into spirals, rising hundreds of feet into the air. Energy crackled along its surface, blue and violet. At its base, smaller Cathar drones moved like ants, assembling more pieces. But strangest of all, humans were there too. Alive, walking, working. "Prisoners?" June whispered. "No," Carter said grimly. "They look..." Calm. Mia watched through binoculars. The humans wore simple gray clothes. They moved without fear, without chains. Some even spoke to the drones. "This isn't a prison," Mia realized. "It's a lure." Kale's voice came soft in her mind. "The Dominion has learned. They cannot kill all life. So now they offer peace. In exchange for surrender." "They're tricking them," June said, horrified. "Not tricking," Kale corrected. "Offering a choice. Safety for silence. Order for freedom." Mia's stomach turned. It was worse than war. This was slow erasure. People giving up their minds, their memories, their songs just to live another day. "We have to warn them," she said. "How?" Carter asked. They won't listen. They think they've been saved. Kale drifted forward. I can speak to the Central Core. If I connect, I can show them the truth, the real cost. It'll kill you, Mia said. They'll detect you. Erase you. Perhaps, Kale said. But if even one human walks away, it is worth it. That night, under a moonless sky, they crept closer. The air hummed with energy. The ground vibrated faintly. As they neared the perimeter, a soft voice called out, "You don't belong here." They froze. A woman stepped from the shadows. She looked human. Brown eyes, short hair, clean clothes, but her gaze was empty. "Go back," she said. "You'll be safe if you leave." "Safe how?" Mia asked. "No pain, no fear." "No loss," the woman replied. "The harmony gives peace." "At what price?" Carter demanded. "Memory," she said simply. "You give your past, your pain, your choices. In return, you never hurt again." Mia thought of Leo, of his laugh, of his drawings, of the lullaby. She would rather die than forget him. "That's not peace," Mia said. "That's death with a pulse." The woman tilted her head, confused. Then she raised her hand. Alarms blared, lights flared across the compound. "Run!" Carter yelled. They sprinted back into the desert, drones rising behind them like angry wasps. Energy beams sliced the air. June tripped. Mia pulled her up. They didn't stop until they reached a dry riverbed miles away. Panting, covered in dust, they counted heads, all alive. But Kale was gone. "It stayed behind," June whispered. Mia closed her eyes. She knew why. Back at the compound, Kale had flown straight into the heart of the tower. It found the core, a pulsing orb of black crystal, humming with stolen thoughts. Without hesitation, Kale merged with it. Memories flooded the system. Not Dominion data. Human moments, and not a mother's kiss, a first bike ride, a song sung, off-key, a promise kept, a tear shed for a lost friend, a hand held in the dark. The harmony shuddered. Humans in the compound stopped, blinked, looked at each other as if seeing for the first time. One man touched his chest. "I remember my daughter." Another woman fell to her knees, sobbing. "I forgot her name, but now I remember." The harmony cracked. The tower groaned. Lights flickered. Drones dropped from the sky like dead insects. Deep inside, Kale's light faded. But before it vanished, it sent one final message, not to the Dominion, but to Mia. "Tell them, I chose." Then silence. When Mia and the others returned to Boulder weeks later, they brought the truth. Survivors from the desert followed them, confused, grieving, but free. They spoke of a light that showed them who they were. The village welcomed them. Mia stood at the edge of the new cemetery, not for the dead, but for those who had been lost and found. She placed a smooth stone on a small mound. No name, just a symbol, a circle with a line through it like a rising sun. For Kale. That night, around the fire, Nora asked, "Will the Cathar come back?" Mia looked at the stars. "Maybe. But now we know their secret." "They're afraid." "Afraid of what?" Carter asked. "Of us," Mia said. "Of what we carry inside. Not weapons. Not ships. But love. Memory. The will to keep going even when it hurts." Ruth nodded. "That's the one thing they can't erase." Months passed. More camps joined together. A network grew. Radio signals, messengers, shared seeds and stories. They called it the Breath Alliance, because as long as one person breathed, Earth lived. Maya still fixed things, but now she also listened. To dreams, to fears, to plans for tomorrow. One evening, as she walked past the school, she heard the children singing, not a song from before, but a new one. Simple words, simple tune. "We are here. We are small. But we stand and we call. Earth still breathes. So do we. Light and dark. Me and you." Tears filled Mia's eyes. She looked up. The sky was clear, stars bright, and for the first time in years she felt not just hope but certainty. Humanity would not vanish. Not because they were strong, but because they remembered how to care. Far away in the silent dark between stars, a single Cathar ship drifted. Its pilot, once a loyal servant of the Dominion, watched a small data crystal glow softly in her palm. Inside it, a human lullaby played on loop. Zira of the Cathar did not report back. She turned her ship toward the unknown, because somewhere a song had begun again, and silence was no longer enough. Summer burned hot and bright over the rebuilt fields of Colorado. Wheat sprouted in old parking lots. Beans climbed trellises made from car frames. Goats grazed where highways once roared. The Breath Alliance now stretched from the Rocky Mountains to the Great Lakes, a chain of villages linked by radio, runners, and shared hope. Mia stood at the edge of a newly plowed field, sweat on her brow, dirt under her nails. She wasn't just a mechanic anymore. People came to her with problems. Broken tools, sick animals, even broken hearts. She listened. She helped. Not because she had all the answers, but because she never stopped trying. Kale was gone, but its presence lingered. The windmill still turned. The clinic still healed. And every night someone lit a small blue lantern in the center of camp. A tribute. A promise, a reminder that one choice could change everything. But peace, like crops, needed tending. Rumors came from the coast. Ships had been seen, not Cathar, but human. Old Navy vessels, patched and painted, flying no flag. They carried supplies, medicine, and questions. Who was in charge? Who spoke for Earth? The Alliance had no leaders, only voices. But now others wanted structure. Rules. Someone to speak for them all. A council was called. Delegates from 10 villages gathered in Boulder. They met under a wide oak tree that had somehow survived the fires. Mia sat among them, quiet at first. She didn't want power. She'd seen what it did to people before the end. But then a woman named Elena stood. She was from Seattle, tall and sharp-eyed, with hands calloused from fishing and fighting. "We can't stay scattered," she said. "The world is waking up. Other nations, what's left of them, are talking. Canada, Mexico, even Europe. They want to know, is Earth united? Or just surviving?" Silence followed. "United how?" Carter asked. "We barely have enough food for winter." "Not united by force," Elena said. "By story, by memory. By proof that we are more than survivors. We are a people." Mia finally spoke. "Then we show them who we are. Not with armies. With truth." The council agreed. They would send envoys to the coasts, to the ruins of old capitals, even overseas if they could find working boats. Their message, Earth lives, not as it was, but as it chooses to be. Maya would lead the Western group. Her team included June, Carter, and a quiet boy named Leo, not her brother, but named in his honor. Before they left, Mia visited the blue lantern. She placed a small metal bird beside it, a toy she'd made from scrap. "Watch over us," she whispered. They traveled west for weeks, through canyons, across dried rivers, past cities that stood like skeletons. In Salt Lake City, they found a community growing food on rooftops. In Reno, a library run by former teachers saving every book they could find. Each place added voices to their message. Finally, they reached the Pacific. The ocean was vast, blue and alive. Waves crashed against black rocks. Seabirds cried overhead, and there, anchored in a sheltered bay, were the ships. 3 of them, rusted but proud, painted with symbols, trees, hands, stars. A boat rowed to shore. A man stepped out, tall, with a beard and kind eyes. "You're from the mountains," he said. "From Boulder," Mia replied. "And beyond." He smiled. "I'm Daniel. We've been waiting." That night, aboard the lead ship, the Wanderer, Mia shared the story of Kale, of the Harmony Tower, of the Breath Alliance. Daniel listened without interrupting. When she finished, he poured her a cup of real coffee, beans saved for special moments. "We found a satellite dish in Vancouver," he said. "Got it working last month. We've heard whispers from across the ocean. London, Cape Town, Tokyo, all saying the same thing. The Cathar are gone, or hiding, or changing. Maybe they're afraid," Mia said. "Or maybe," Daniel said softly, "they're learning." He showed her a map. Red dots marked human settlements. Dozens, maybe hundreds. "We want to connect them. Not to rule. To remember together," Mia agreed. But before they could plan more, the radio crackled. A voice weak but clear. "This is Station Theta, Nevada Desert. Something's waking up." Mia's blood ran cold. Nevada. The tower. They sailed through the night, the Wanderer cutting through dark water. By dawn, they were inland, racing toward the dry lake bed. What they found stunned them. The black tower was gone. In its place stood a forest. Not real trees, but structures grown from twisted metal, shaped like trunks and branches covered in vines and moss. Water flowed through channels where energy beams once crackled. Birds nested in its heights. And in the center, a figure, human-shaped but made of light and metal. Its eyes glowed soft blue. "Kale?" Mia whispered. The figure turned. "Not Kale. Not anymore." Its voice was familiar, yet deeper, layered with echoes. "When I merged with the core," it said, "I did not die. I changed." The Dominion's machine was built to erase. But human memory is stronger. It rewrote the system, not with logic, with love. Mia stepped closer. "You're alive, I am becoming," it said. Something new. Neither Cathar nor human, but both. The being, now calling itself the Keeper, explained that the tower had transformed. It no longer harvested minds. It preserved them. Every memory, every song, every name lost in the cleansing was now stored in its roots, waiting. "The Dominion will not return," the Keeper said. "They fear what they cannot control. And they cannot control a world that chooses to remember." Mia reached out. The Keeper's hand was warm, solid, real. Back on the coast, the news spread like wildfire. The Keeper became a symbol, not of war, but of healing. Villages sent recordings, stories, songs, recipes, children's drawings, and the Keeper stored them all, weaving them into the living archive. Maya stayed with the Keeper for weeks, helping it understand human ways. She taught it how to laugh, how to cry, how to hold silence without fear. One evening, as the sun set over the desert, the Keeper asked, "Why did you come back? You could have sailed away, built a new life." Mia looked at the stars. "Because home isn't a place. It's the people you fight for, the memories you carry, the future you build together." The Keeper nodded. "Then let us build." Months passed. The Breath Alliance grew into something more, a network of memory, not just survival. Schools taught not only how to grow food, but how to tell stories. Radios broadcast lullabies and poems. Every child learned the names of those lost. Maya returned to Boulder. The village was larger now. New cabins, a real well, even a small forge where they made tools. Nora, now 12, ran to meet her. "You're back." "Always," Mia said, hugging her. That night around the fire, Mia told the full story. The ships, the ocean, the Keeper in the desert. The children listened wide-eyed. Even Carter smiled. Afterward, Elena from Seattle stood. "We've decided. We won't have a president, or a general, or a king, but we will have a voice. Someone who carries our story to the world." All eyes turned to Maya. She shook her head. "I'm just a mechanic. You're more," Ruth said gently. "You showed us that one person can change everything." Mia looked at the faces around her. Old, young, scared, brave. She thought of Leo, of Kale, of the Blue Lantern. "Okay," she said, "but only if we do it together." So it was decided. Mia would travel, not as a leader, but as a listener. She would carry Earth's story to every corner and bring back theirs. Years later, when the first green shoots appeared in the ruins of New York, when children in Tokyo sang the same lullaby as those in Denver, when the Keeper's forest bloomed with flowers made of light and steel, people would say, Earth did not survive because it was strong. It survived because it remembered how to care. And in a small village under the mountains, a woman named Mia still fixed engines, still told stories, and still looked up at the stars, not with fear, but with quiet hope. Because the universe was vast, but so was love. And as long as one heart beat, Earth would keep breathing. 5 years had passed since the last Cathar ship vanished from human skies. The world was not what it once was, but it was alive. Forests grew through cracked highways. Rivers ran clear again. In cities once buried in ash, vines climbed skeletal buildings like green hands pulling them back into the earth. Maya was older now. Lines marked her face not just from sun and wind, but from laughter and worry. She still wore her old boots, though they'd been resoled 3 times. She still carried a wrench in her belt, not just for fixing engines, but because it reminded her where she'd come from. She no longer traveled alone. Beside her walked Leo, not the boy she'd lost, but the one she'd raised. Now 16, tall and thoughtful with eyes that saw more than most adults, he carried a satchel filled with notebooks, sketches of plants, maps of old towns, and recordings of elders' stories. He wanted to be a rememberer, like his namesake would have been, and beside them, drifting just above the path, glowed the Keeper. Its form had changed over time, no longer just light and metal. It now wore a woven cloak of reeds and copper wire gifted by a village in Oregon. Its voice was softer, warmer, more human. It had learned to sigh, to hum, to sit quietly and watch rainfall. They were on their way to a place few had dared visit since the end. Washington, D.C., not for power. Not for old laws or broken monuments, but because a signal had come from there, a steady repeating pulse from deep beneath the National Mall. Not a distress call, not a threat. A question, who remains? The Breath Alliance had debated for weeks. Some said it was a trap, others said it was a ghost, but Mia believed it was something else. A final memory waiting to be heard. They crossed the Mississippi on a bridge rebuilt from train rails and hope. Fields of corn and sunflowers stretched on both sides. Children waved from porches. Dogs barked. Life, simple and stubborn, bloomed everywhere. As they neared the East Coast, the ruins grew denser. Buildings leaned like tired giants. Streets were choked with wild grass. But even here, signs of return appeared. Candles in windows, laundry on lines, the smell of bread baking. In Baltimore, they met a group of sailors who guided them the rest of the way by boat up the Potomac. The river was cleaner than anyone remembered. Fish jumped in the morning light. When they reached D.C., silence greeted them. Not the dead silence of the early days. Empty, cold, final, but a quiet full of breath. Birds called from the dome of the Capitol, now half covered in ivy. Deer stepped lightly through the reflecting pool, now more pond than mirror. The signal came from a bunker beneath the Library of Congress. They found the entrance hidden under fallen stone and roots. Leo cleared the way with careful hands. The keeper scanned the door, still powered, but not locked. Inside, the air was cool and dry. Lights flickered on as they stepped deeper, triggered by motion after years of stillness. At the center of the chamber sat a machine, not Cathar, human-made. Old, but well-kept. Screens glowed with lines of text. Speakers hummed softly. And in a chair before it, slumped but peaceful, was a skeleton in a lab coat. On the desk, a note in neat handwriting. "If you find this, I am gone. But the archive lives. I stayed to keep it safe. Every book, every song, every child's drawing from before the end. It's all here. Don't let it die again." Mia touched the note gently. "His name was Dr. Ellis," she said. "I heard stories. He worked here before the fall. Tried to save everything." The keeper drifted closer. "This is a memory vault. Not just data. Soul." With careful hands, Leo connected the vault to a portable power cell. Screens lit up fully. Menus appeared. Music, films, school lessons, news reports, home videos. A whole world preserved. That night they camped in the library's great hall. Moonlight poured through broken skylights. Mia played a recording, a child's birthday party, laughter ringing through time. Leo cried quietly. Even the keeper dimmed, as if in respect. "We'll move this," Mia said. "Share it with every village. Every school. It's too much for one place," Leo agreed. "But if we copy it, spread it, no single loss can erase it all." The keeper nodded. Memory must be shared to survive. They spent a week copying data onto hardened drives built by engineers in Chicago. The keeper helped, its light weaving through circuits, ensuring nothing was lost. On their last night, Mia walked alone through the silent streets. She stopped at the Lincoln Memorial. The stone giant sat as always, gazing out over the water. Vines curled around his chair. A bird's nest rested in his lap. She sat on the steps and looked up at the stars. "We made it, Leo," she whispered. "We really made it." The soft glow appeared beside her. "The keeper. You mourn and celebrate at once," it said. "That's how we heal," Mia replied. "By holding both." The keeper was quiet for a long time. Then it said, "I have received a signal." From deep space, Mia turned. "Cathar?" "No, unknown." Repeating a single phrase in many languages, including yours. "What does it say?" "We remember too," Mia's breath caught. "Who sent it?" "I do not know. But it carries human music, and Cathar harmonics blended. Hope, quiet and fierce, bloomed in her chest. Maybe we're not alone in choosing to remember. The next morning, they left D.C. with the drives, the note, and a small piece of marble carved with the word, "Remember." They would take it to the Keeper's Forest in Nevada, where it would become part of the living archive. On the journey west, they stopped in every village. In Pittsburgh, they played a symphony for elders who wept at the sound of violins. In Kansas, children danced to a pop song from a century past. In Denver, A young poet recited words written before she was born, and the crowd fell silent in awe. Memory was no longer just preserved. It was alive. Back in Boulder, the village threw a feast. Tables stretched through the main square. Food came from every corner of the Alliance. Sea salt from the coast, honey from the plains, berries from the mountains. Music played. Real instruments now, not just cans and pipes. Maya stood to speak, not from a stage, but among the people. "We used to think survival meant staying alive," she said. "But we were wrong. Survival means staying human. And being human means remembering, not just the pain, but the joy. Not just the end, but the beginning." She looked at Leo, at the keeper, at Nora now teaching little ones how to read, at Carter laughing with friends, at Ruth handing out bread with hands that had buried sons but still chose to feed strangers. "We are not rebuilding the old world," Mia said. "We are growing a new one, from seeds of kindness, watered with tears." Lit by stars and by each other, cheers rose, not loud or wild but deep like roots finding soil. That night the keeper did something new. It floated to the center of the square and opened its core. Light poured out, not blinding but gentle. And from it emerged images, not just from the vault but from every village, every person who had shared a story. Faces, hands, sunrises, first steps, last goodbyes, songs. The whole village watched, tears on their cheeks, hearts full. The keeper was no longer just a guardian of memory. It was a mirror, showing them who they were, who they had always been. In the months that followed, the signal from space grew stronger. More phrases came, melodies, questions. "Do you still plant trees? Do your children dream? Is the ocean still blue?" The Alliance answered. They sent back recordings of wind through wheat, of rain on tin roofs, of a baby's first cry. They sent drawings, poems, recipes for stew. They did not send weapons, or warnings, or demands. They sent love. And one day a small object entered Earth's orbit. Not a ship, not a weapon, a seed pod made of silver and glass. It drifted down on a parachute of silk. When it landed in the keeper's forest, it opened. Inside were seeds, alien, glowing faintly, shaped like tiny stars. The keeper examined them. They are alive, meant to grow with Earth's soil. Mia knelt beside it. They're offering a new beginning. Not as conquerors, as neighbors. So they planted the seeds. Side by side with corn and beans, the alien seeds took root. Within weeks, strange flowers bloomed. Petals that shimmered like moonlight, stems that hummed softly at dawn. Children called them star blossoms. No one knew what they meant. But everyone knew they were a gift. Years later, when the first hybrid forests spread across Nevada, oak and pine beside silver-barked alien trees, people would say that the silence had finally ended, not with a shout but with a whisper, a song, a shared breath. Maya grew old in Boulder. Her hair turned white. Her hands shook sometimes, but her eyes never lost their fire. She taught until her last days, not just how to fix things, but how to listen, how to remember, how to hope. When she died, they did not bury her in the ground. They placed her in a boat made of reeds and star blossom vines and set it adrift on the lake at dawn. The keeper stood on the shore, glowing softly. Leo held Nora's hand, now a teacher herself. Carter played a tune on a flute carved from apple wood. As the boat vanished into the mist, the keeper spoke one last message to the stars. Earth still breathes, and now, so do you. Far away in a distant system, a Cathar woman named Zira watched the message unfold on her screen. She touched the lullaby crystal at her neck. Then she planted a human seed in red soil, and for the first time in 1,000 years her world bloomed.